Hey guys, it's JB Taylor back at you with another reaction video. This is for Jimmy Carr, comedian with Daniel and Sally. Remember Sean Locke. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go. I adore Sean Locke. I think Jimmy Carr is pretty damn funny. But Sean Locke, outside of the box kind of comedian, very funny, great on 8 out of 10 Cats and 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. And also the other panel shows that he was on, IQ. No, not IQ. QI, excuse me. But yeah, he was always great. He was always on, just on it, not on, but on it. Just very funny. I'm not quite sure how this will go because I've seen some of these types of videos that were kind of super quick and there wasn't too much emotion there, and others that were just spot on, very good. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Sean Locke, and I just wanted to watch it. You also notice that I took out the Unplug with Me title. I have it here, but it will be replaced because I decided I'm just going to make these reaction videos, not a part of a big series. So I will be taking the Unplug with Me kind of, I guess, logo out, and I'll be putting just covers of indie books that I like, and even YouTube videos of folks, their thumbnail. I'll be posting the ones that I like on there. It's just a fun way to promote other people instead of just myself. So let's start.
A bit warmer. By the time we get to Thursday and Friday, temperatures for some will be where you are. Sal and Dan and Jimmy.
Actually, I love it.
Got a few sore limbs this morning after yesterday's London Marathon. And great to see so many out there enjoying it. You know, it's been long overdue, hasn't it?
Sorry, John, were we distracting you slightly while you were doing your lovely sport there?
Jimmy Carr's walked into the room.
Well, if anyone's going to distract us, it's going to be Jimmy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
you just want...
If anyone's going to be culpable,
it's nice to be on the news. It's nice to be on the... I'm not sure why I'm on this morning. Presumably the Panama Papers.
We're going to ask you a lot of searching questions about that. Come on.
Thankfully not. I learnt my lesson.
You were just wondering if that's John's job to sit here and talk about. That's what John does. He's a brilliant sports presenter.
Yeah. It's just he's slightly obsessed by sport. I'm amazed he never brings anything else up. I've got a few questions about this show, frankly.
Okay. Anything you want to...
Well, frankly, breaking news used to be things like 9/11 or Diana's died. Now it's the Chancellor makes a statement. Frankly, you're over...
Every news channel does that. Breaking news for the slightest shit. It's just ridiculous.
Using breaking news.
Is the bar too low? Is that what you're saying?
The bar's way too low for breaking news. This is breaking news now. Jimmy's on the news.
We're going to raise the bar right now because our breaking news...
To be honest, it's both depressing that it happens all over the world, but it's also kind of a relief that we aren't the only one that does that shit.
Right now is...
Weather. Yes. Let's go to weather.
Said it.
Carol Kirkwood.
Depends where you are, right? Carol, weather, look out the window. If you've got a window, look out of it. That's the weather.
Don't you dare downplay Carol Kirkwood. Carol, don't listen to him. You do what you like.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. Thanks, Dan. That's probably the best weather forecast you hear all day. Good morning, everybody. You might be waking up if you're looking through your window to a scene like this morning. It is fairly showery. We've had some torrential rain we've put in this weather forecast. If you like it that little bit warmer, by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, temperatures for some will be getting up to 21 degrees. As Jimmy said, depending on where you are. Sal and Dan and Jimmy.
Actually, I love it.
Carol,
bit of weather.
Jimmy's, you like that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Jimmy's off to Newcastle later, Carol. Can you sort out the forecast? What's it looking like towards Newcastle?
In fairness, I'll mainly be indoors. I'm not fussed. You take a weight off. Don't worry.
You'll be all right
On
then,
the train,
Jimmy.
in a cab to the venue. I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Your work here is done.
Yeah, I've got a brolly. I'll be all right.
Thank you.
Right. Are we talking about Strictly? We should just talk about Strictly.
Should we get that out? We're just meant to be talking about you.
Yeah, but Strictly's the thing. What's the dance this week?
The dance this week, Jimmy, I can tell you exclusively, is Movie Week. It's a foxtrot.
A foxtrot.
And the theme is Sleeping Beauty.
Right. More importantly, how's the marriage?
One of those two, considering he just asked a marriage question, I'm guessing yes. 'Cause over there, they get a lot of people cheating on that show, from what I understand.
We're a couple of weeks in now.
We're fine. I mean, I've got no problem with it.
The marriage is fine. Nadia came round on day one.
Go on.
To meet the family. The kids love her.
To meet the family, to say goodbye.
My wife is having a lovely time getting to know her as well. We are rock solid.
Excellent. Okay, I was just checking. I know the listeners are concerned.
I appreciate your honesty and the insightful questioning. Let's talk about your tax issues.
No, sure. I've got a really important thing that you need to talk about. Okay, we need to work out what Dan's going to wear because it's movie week.
Right.
It's a fairy story.
Oh, went full screen there. Got too excited on the. I'm a professional. This must be one of those things where I talk about towards the end, maybe the middle. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Carr is a tax guy. Used a very clever loophole. Didn't technically break the law, but used a very clever loophole to avoid paying taxes in England. He did get in trouble. Well, he did get put on the spot and have to pay it all back. But technically, didn't break the law.
I don't know if you've seen the show before, but it'll be something spangling. It'll be something that will embarrass him the rest of his life. Is what he's going to wear.
I've already done that. Well, it's just like a gladiator at the weekend. So.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think you might be.
That's the point of the show, though, isn't it? That's the point.
Yeah.
Everyone's had a really tough 18 months. People want a little bit of glamour on a Saturday night.
You've got
not too much to ask.
You've got to enjoy yourself and have a bit of fun with it, I think.
Well,
not
otherwise,
take
why
it too
do
seriously.
Do you think you've got a chance? Do you think you might win it?
Absolutely not. No.
Don't you think everybody eventually thinks they've got a chance, though? After week by week, you go, oh, I'm getting better.
No, not at all. I've zero dance experience. I did this because my children begged me to do it.
And you're in strange shape.
Yeah, I am a very peculiar
You
shape.
are. You're sort of like a stepladder come to life.
Yeah, exactly. When you see it up close and personal, it's very odd,
very
isn't it?
long.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's surely an advantage, isn't it?
An advantage in hold. Is that not what, a good thing
I'm
in
off to
ballroom?
practice my foxtrot today with Nadia Bitchkova, my professional partner. So I'll report back to you, let you know on your way to Newcastle how it's going.
How are you doing this then? So you're getting up for the news, you're dancing all day.
Yeah.
What is it? How much coffee are you getting through?
No.
Well, I'm working quite a bit, so I only did 17 hours for the Paso Doble last week. But yeah, right. Listen, we need to talk about your book.
I've got a book out. You can buy it in shops. There you go.
Okay.
The plug done.
You're joking about it, but actually it's really personal because it's not just like it's not a book talking necessarily about your life. It's a book telling everybody about the things that you've learned. Don't look at me like that. Things that you've learned from the kind of tricky moments in your life, and there have been some.
Yeah, well, I sort of did the autobiography thing. Whenever I read an autobiography, I always think this guy's talking about himself way too much. So I sort of split the difference and did like half about my life and sort of some showbiz anecdotes and what's happened and being a comedian and how that happened. And then it was half about I sort of read a lot of self-help stuff. I sort of changed my life in my mid-20s. I went from having quite a boring office job working for an oil company to really sort of switching it up and becoming a comedian. And I think a lot of people are interested in how I made that transition because there's nothing special about me. Anyone could do that. I was exposed to lots of kind of interesting self-help stuff. But all of that self-help stuff is so earnest. It's so boring. And
what was it? What self-help book was it? And what was the moment when something switched in your head and thought, right, this is my time to stop doing that and be brave?
Well, for me, it was like there's a thing called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which I did with a guy called Ian McDermott, who's still a friend of mine. He's a wonderful man. And I was kind of exposed to that and kind of went, oh, this makes sense to me. I mean, it is whatever. I think there's so many different types of therapy. The first thing any therapist should tell you is, there are other options. It's not just me. Because it's what works for you. Certain different things resonate for different people. And the self-help stuff it's just a bit po-faced sometimes. So I wanted to write a funny book about that and to have kind of that, because there seems to be a bit of a, not to, bring the mood down, but there's a mental health crisis going on in the country. There's a lot of people in dire straits with, depression and anxiety. So speaking about that openly seems like a very obvious thing to do.
And I joked about the tax thing, but you do talk about it in the book, and you're very honest about it.
It's great to joke about it, though. I think that joking is how you process
That's
things.
what I mean, yeah, because that did cause sort of damage and bad headlines. How do you look back on that now?
I think every day's a school day.
Yeah.
Something like that happens and you know who your friends are on a day like that, who are the people that call. It makes you more compassionate. It makes you more empathetic because you realise people are not the worst thing they've ever done. And it makes you a better friend because it means you call people when something bad happens. That's the lesson I learned. When something bad happens, you call them on the day. My good friend James Corden was on Broadway at the time when it was all happening, and he called me every night at midnight just to check in when he was in his interval. Just would check in, just like no judgment, just check in with his friend.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. And it was that made all the difference to me. So now I always try and do that for my friends. Whether showbiz friends or just in life. Sometimes we don't call because we don't know what to say. And now I've learnt the trick, which is just call and go, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, just call anyway. I have to ask you about Sean Locke, who died very recently. And you said the most lovely thing about him, which was that you hadn't realised you were a double act.
Well, we did like 250 TV shows together over like 15 years, and he was incredible. I think he made me laugh more than anyone else. And I think it was because, laughs work in this way where you trick people into thinking you're saying one thing and then it's a little switch. And he had this incredible sort of demeanour of a very sort of, a blokish bloke. And then he was doing this surreal flight of fancy comedy. He was just wonderful. I really do miss him, but there is that lovely thing when there's that much footage, there's that much stuff out there where you can go back and it kind of, you do in a sense live on. I do still get to laugh with him and watch it. But yeah, it's a real loss. And it hit me very physically. I think that thing about grief is you sort of think you're going to just cry and be upset. I got sick. I was like really sort of sleeping 14 hours and just knocked out by it. That's the thing we don't, it's in the book. I talk a lot about losing my mother. And
I can see that. I mean, you can see in his posture and even in his face. Just thinking about it, you can tell it did hit him hard. Because he deflated. He's not getting that energy back. Definitely hit him.
The idea of grief being a physical thing is
because it is. Grief
it's
is
nice to share it though, because a lot of people haven't been affected, but when it comes, knowing that you're not alone, everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
So did you talk about watching those? There's so many clips of you and Sean having a great laugh on 8 out of 10 Cats and other programs as well. Did watching those sort of help you process?
Yeah, you're kind of laughing and crying, and I think that's the only reason we have a sense of humour. I think the reason laughter is important, it's not for the good times. Please come and see the tour show, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll have a fun night. But sometimes you need it. Sometimes it's not just the icing on the cake. Sometimes you need a laugh, and I think you need a laugh in the tough times in life. I think we've just been through 18 months of COVID and lockdown. That's been hard on a lot of people. Death and disease, something terrible happening to you or someone you love. That's when actually having a sense of humour and laughing in those times is valuable. And the funniest jokes are going to be the jokes with your friends and family in those hard moments.
I think it's an evolutionary trait. I think at some point in time we figured out that we need humor to stay afloat, to stay alive, mentally and physically to stay alive. I think he's on something there.
That's going to be when it matters most.
So true.
And the book's kind of about that. It's about like saying, in praise of comedy and saying, look, you can do this. Anyone can be, you had Roger Taylor on before. No one can play the drums like that. It's just an incredible, but anyone can be funny.
Do you think, though, that you took the path that you did because of the difficult things that happened in your life, because of losing your mum? Was it almost like an escape, or did it make you think, right, I've just got to embrace my life?
I think I think if you get a lot of comics on the sofa, right?
Yeah.
I think the question you should ask them is, which of your parents is sick?
Yeah.
Because most comics have a sick parent and they had to make things okay. And they're self-medicating with humour. So they're making their family life and their environment okay by sort of self-medicating with humour. It's all very serious.
This is the whole point. This is why it's so nice to talk to people like you, because obviously we know you're hilarious, but it's a great insight into sort of the things that make you tick as well.
Well, there's that multifaceted thing of like writing the book. I didn't want it just to be. I mean, it's a funny book. It's got a lot of gags in it. We really. I spent like a year and a half writing it. I think it was lockdown. It was that or a podcast, wasn't it? I think I took the gentleman's choice.
Didn't get
There's
a
enough
puppy.
podcasts out there, but thank you for coming on.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Good luck with it with Strictly as well. I hope you win.
I don't think it will, but enjoy the Foxtrot this weekend.
The Foxtrot, will it be good? Is there money? Can we
No,
put
this is
money
his
on it?
week. This is his week, I'm telling you now.
This is your week.
Yeah.
Big build-up.
Can do this.
Totally.
Jimmy's book is called Before and Laughter, and it is out now.
Okay, that was definitely something. I wasn't. That's why I was kind of hesitant going in, because I wasn't sure how much of it would be about Sean Locke. They didn't talk about him as much as I thought they would, but I did appreciate seeing how much of an impact Locke had on him. I mean, his demeanor after that. I mean, they're prepped ahead of time, so they know what they're going to be asked. But I mean, even then, it still hit him. Just taking that change of topic, it still hit him hard. He just completely deflated. He became very, very different. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to seeing like this smart ass, the funny Jimmy Carr. He was very human in that. in that interview. And James Corden calling him, like that, you know, that impressed me. I'll be honest, I didn't really see him as being that sort of person. Not necessarily a bad guy, but you know, gotta be honest. He's always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know why. I can't explain it. That made me like him. You know, um, it's a very very kind, very very sweet thing to do. So that was cool. So yeah, that's all for this one. If you liked this video, give it a you know good old thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. You don't have to, but I'd appreciate it. Until next time, peace.